There's a new patron saint of NXT. WWE's finally working with outside companies, and who's in the Hall of Fame? Let's do it. Welcome, everybody, to episode 2, the second episode of the Announce Table. I am your host, Mike DeSanto. Of course, I am the esteemed advocate and wrestling spokesperson for Cinco Squad. I'm happy to be the host of Cinco Squad's The Announce Table, our wrestling podcast. Back for another episode. I'm excited to be here, talk a little bit of wrestling with everybody, and where we got to start, the newest NXT superstar, Ricky Starr. Okay, that's not his name anymore. Ricky Saints. I don't mind the name change. Off the bat, I don't mind the name change. I would have kind of liked him to stay Ricky Starks just because there's a familiarity with wrestling fans as to being Ricky Starks, but I get it. WWE's got to put their own stamp on things, and it's a cool name. How will that factor into his character? I don't think it will. I think he's still going to be Ricky Starks, just under the new name. I'm super excited. I've said that in the past. For him to be there, I think it's going to be huge to have Ricky there. NXT is the right place to start because if you haven't really watched any AEW, you're not going to be super familiar with Ricky and what he's done and what he can do and how talented and charismatic he really is. So they need to give him some time before he goes to Raw and SmackDown to create the character and the knowledge amongst the purely WWE fan base, like Ethan Page did. I think you can take a lot from Ethan Page as far as, how to integrate yourself coming off of AEW, coming off of TNA, indie scene, all those types of things that Ricky and Ethan have both done to build yourself amongst the audience and really make that name for yourself. So I think he's going to do a great job. And I think actually putting him up against Ethan Page would be great. I think it's a great first, kind of introduction to the company. They are a good kind of foil for each other, it feels like, as far as characters go. So I think long term, those two could be big NXT rivals, and who knows? Maybe they're NXT rivals for the NXT Championship. But I do think that NXT benefits from Ricky Starks, and I think WWE will benefit from Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints, as he will be called. It's going to be tough to get used to that, being within the company. Speaking of being within the company, we've got some brand integration of a different sort in that WWE is officially partnered with TNA like they always should have been. I think being able to exchange talent is great. I went on Twitter when I saw this and am immediately like, I want a WrestleMania match when I saw Obafemi and Moose against each other facing off in the ring. They haven't even wrestled each other yet. Just the promos alone got me hyped for it. So please someday make that happen. I think it's going to happen. Maybe at Stand and Deliver, although Big Mike from the Run and Wrestling podcast, shout out to him. He did point out to me that maybe they're going to be doing a WWE-TNA Worlds Collide type of pay-per-view down the road, and that might be where we get it. That would make a lot of sense, but I would love to see it at Stand and Deliver. I'd love to see it at WrestleMania. I'd love to see it on a house show. I just want to see this match. But I think, Joe Hendry mentioned a bunch of WWE, guys and events and things like that in his opening song. Elijah is now on TNA. We could see him back. I think there's a lot of room for brand integration between the two brands, and it's going to be great. I think it's going to benefit both of them. TNA is going to raise the bar. WWE's releasing, they're bringing back Evolve, and I think TNA stars will show up there as well. I think it's a great another brand to add in. And WWE under Hunter, under Triple H, and Shawn Michaels and the new regime also is not shying away from the fact that they are not the only wrestling company in the world. They are not the only watched wrestling company in the world. And so I think in the past they made the mistake of ignoring other brands, other companies, and not admitting that they exist. Because guess what? We're not dumb. As fans, we aren't dumb. We know that these brands are out there. We watch a lot of them. I grew up watching old school TNA before they were Global Force and before it kind of got watered down and the old guys took over and all that and became essentially a small WCW. I grew up with like Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, AJ Styles, The Amazing Red, Shark Boy, for those of you that don't know, Shark Boy out there as wrestling fans, like, go look him up. It's essentially Stone Cold as Shark Boy from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. It's awesome. I grew up with all that. I loved it. I watched WWE. I watched TNA on Thursdays. I'm as a big wrestling fan, I was into it, so I'm happy that they're finally doing that partnership and really getting down to, bringing in these people. And the fact that the Hardys could have a final run in WWE through this partnership is all the better. So I can't wait to see what that has in store. It's going to be great. I'm super excited. It's WrestleMania season. We're on the road to WrestleMania. That's perfectly clear, but it's the Hall of Fame. We've gotten some recent Hall of Fame announcements. We've got a couple people that are on kind of the docket for who's going into the Hall this year so far. Triple H, of course, is the headliner. Makes sense. He's more than deserving. And the way they surprised him with Undertaker and Shawn was really cool. But we also got Michelle McCool was announced going in. She got surprised. It looked like Taker didn't know about it, which is awesome. They did it on ESPN. Triple H kind of came on and surprised Michelle. And again, deserving. I know people out there saying that Michelle McCool only had like a 6-7 year career. She didn't, have that long of a career like Trish and Lita and all them had to be meaningful. But she was meaningful because in the era of the Divas division, the Divas Championship, she was top flight, like always at the top of the card, and deservedly so. She could be a good face. She could be a good heel. I always enjoyed her work. I think as a brand ambassador as well, post-retirement, she's been great. Obviously, she's married to Undertaker, so she's with him in a lot of events, and she's been appearing sparingly in Royal Rumble matches and things like that or on the show, and I think she's been a great, like I said, ambassador for the company to the larger world. So, Michelle McCool, you have my vote for the Hall of Fame. I'm happy to see you're going in. But there are 3 glaring omissions, right, that I think deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and I would love to see and go this year. I think they should be in. They should go in this year, or if not this year, somewhere in the near future. The first one is probably the most notable one, and that's Owen Hart. Yes, for anybody out there that didn't realize it, Owen Hart is not in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I think that's an absolute travesty. He should have been in years ago, and the fact that he's not, it's just incredible to me. I mean, member of the famous Hart family, graduate of the Hart Dungeon, all, famous all over the world. I get it. He died on your watch. Let's be clear. That's probably the main reason why they haven't put him in yet, is because there may still be salt in the wounds of the fact that he died at a WWE, WWF at the time, wrestling event. It was an unfortunate accident that I imagine, I don't know the details, it could have been prevented, I guess. I don't know, but it's time. It's time, new regime, clean slate. We all know what happened, but we all know how great Owen was. And that's the point. The point is not to talk about the fact that he tragically died, even though, we need to honor his memory because he did. He passed away doing what he loved in an accident. But we also remember how good he was and how talented he was. He was popular. People loved him. People loved to hate him when he was a heel. Owen Hart deserves to be flat out in the WWE Hall of Fame. Put him in. Second name that I wanted to bring up for the WWE Hall of Fame is Brian Pillman Sr. Now we know Brian Pillman Jr. Brian Pillman Sr. Again, along with Owen Hart, it's a similar situation where he passed away while a member of the WWE roster. And so there's kind of seemingly been kind of a distancing. But you hired his son. And though you didn't name him Brian Pillman Jr. like he was on the Indies and in AEW, he's Lexus King. For those that don't know, Lexus King is Brian Pillman's kid. It's Brian Pillman Jr. It's the perfect time. It's the perfect time to put him in. You've got his son establishing himself as a star in NXT. You've got distance between that unfortunate event and the troubles that Brian had. And now, new regime, time to put him in. He was a fantastic wrestler that people loved. He had great storylines. His feud with Stone Cold is still possibly one of the better in the Attitude Era as far as underrated storylines. I get it. They did the whole gun thing, but that's okay. Like, that was the sign of the times. It was a great storyline, a great feud. I'm a big fan of Brian Pillman's work. You need to put him in, because if you don't put him in, it's not honoring the man's legacy. Again, going like with Owen, you have to honor his legacy and what he was. Brian Pillman, put him in the Hall of Fame. Third and finally, this is an interesting one. Honestly, I'm surprised that he's not in, is Lex Luger. Come on. I get it. His run was not what the company wanted at the time. He wasn't the champion they wanted, but he still made a profound impact on the world of pro wrestling. WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, and then WWF and all of the above. He was a capable wrestler that could elicit emotion, which is the point. He's also a symbol of kind of the steroid era of wrestling in, the early to mid 90s, of guys that were on roids. And yes, we understand it. The bodybuilder body was the big thing back then, but that's not on Lex. You can't punish him for that. He did what he felt he needed to do. So put Lex Luger in the WWE Hall of Fame. He deserves it. And frankly, we don't know how much time we got left with Lex. He does not look like he is in good health. He's had some health issues. You need to put him in before you have to posthumously do it, before Lex can be there. Make sure you put Lex Luger in, let him be at the ceremony, let him get his flowers, and, have the kind of send-off to his wrestling career that Lex deserves. Like I said, bit of a shorter show. Just wanted to hop on, talk some quick wrestling, give my thoughts on the world of the WWE as we stand today. I'm super excited for Stand and Deliver. It looks like we're going to get officially Gunther and Jey Uso. We're going to get Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. Those, as I said last week, are the two matchups that I think make the most sense as we stand today. Elimination Chamber's coming up. It's going to be super exciting. I'm going to have a ton of coverage for that. I'm excited to see what the world of wrestling has. And let me know what you want to see, what you want to hear me talk about. Give me some ideas for some fantasy booking for Give Me the Book, my segment I started last week about fantasy booking. Go back and check out my fantasy booking of Kurt Angle's ECW run. It's a lot of fun over there. Again, like, share, subscribe. Check us out on the main show, Cinco Squad. All socials. Cinco Squad Pod 05. Check us out. We got some great sports coverage. We just dropped a new show a few days ago talking about the All-Star Games and spring training, which has started now, which I'm super excited about. World of pro wrestling, world of sports, sports entertainment, all those, all mixing together here on Cinco Squad. Again, Cinco Squad Pod 05. Check us out, and I'll see you next time.